99% of leaders don't know the basics of vocal projection. Let's start with a common myth. To be heard, you need to have a naturally loud voice. Some people think that if they don't have a big, booming voice, that their only option is to shout. But shouting isn't projection, it's strain. Have you ever been in a crowded bar or noisy restaurant and struggled to make yourself heard? You push your voice, it gets tired, and after a while, you give up. Or maybe you're uncomfortable with how your voice sounds, so you avoid speaking up in meetings, on calls, or social situations. If any of this sounds familiar, you're not alone. So step one is to start liking the sound of your voice. So before we can improve projection, we need to become comfortable with how we sound. Here's a really, really simple exercise. Okay, so to get the closest to what you actually sound like, because actually what we sound like is a binaural acoustic feeling in the head cavity here. What other people hear is very different to what we hear, and when we record ourselves speaking, it sounds different. Well, of course it does, because it goes through an analog to digital converter and back again to an analog sound, wavelengths, etc. So the closest representation of your voice and how it sounds is this. If you put your hand in front of your mouth, about 3 or 4 inches away from your mouth, and then you put one hand around your ear like this. So your sound, the sound coming out of your mouth is then picked up by your ear. This is the closest you're going to get to what your voice actually sounds like, and it's a bit strange. So you can do this against the wall. You can. This represents the wall. So you would speak up against the wall, and then you would put one hand around your ear like that, and then the other hand would be here, and that's even more closer. You're creating this sort of acoustic bubble around your voice here. So what you're hearing back here is a very, very accurate representation of what you actually sound like, because what we sound like to others is very different. Actually, what they hear is the first reflection of the sound coming off a wall or a solid surface. What we hear is the binaural reaction or a vibration in our head, very different to what other people hear. And even if we record ourselves and listen back to that sound, it's been manipulated. I won't go into details, but quickly, analog to digital conversion back into analog when we hear it either through headphones or speakers. Practice this to get used to your voice. Now, I'm thinking, wow, that sounds, I wouldn't say amazing. No, I mean, it's very close and it's very personal, but just try to get used to it. You can play around with how far you move, your hand is there and your hand is around your ear. So try that. Let me know in the comments how you get on with that. Okay, so step 2 is that the real secret to being heard is what's called phonation balance. Now, being heard isn't about yelling, it's about achieving the right balance of phonation. So phonation simply refers to the coordination between breath and vocal vibration. So too much breath, your voice sounds very airy and weak. And too much tension, it becomes strained and harsh. So to find that balance, I want you to try this exercise. Now, this is a wicked witch exercise. I call it the wicked witch. So the exercise helps you fine-tune that phonation by exploring the extremities of the nasality and breathiness, and then finding a balance, clear vocal tone. So start with an exaggerated shrill, nasally voice like a classic wicked witch. You make it as cartoonish as possible, really, really high, pitched and sharp. Hope I'm not overloading. I'll check. No, it's a little bit mad. But try to do that sort of sound there. Really wicked witch. Okay, calm down. So step 2 is a gradual reduction of that. So we start there and we're going to lower the pitch and soften the nasal quality, and we move from that exaggerated witch-like voice towards a neutral open tone. And step 3 is to experiment with the balance of that and see where you feel comfortable, whether it's a bit like that or a bit less like that, a bit more breathy. And actually you can go right down to what I call the vicar voice here, and alternate between the exaggerated, witchy, nasally sound and a very open, breathy sound. Find the middle ground where your voice feels strong, clear, and effortless. So think about it like this. Imagine adjusting the dial on an old radio. The nasality, witch sound, is like tuning into a station four and come down with static. The overly breathy voice is like a weak signal and drops out. The goal is to find a station that's crisp and clear and your ideal vocal balance. Practicing this exercise will help you to develop a stronger, clearer voice without strain, reduce breathiness or excessive nasality. Speak with more confidence in any situation, from a boardroom to a bar. So here's a takeaway. Your voice isn't about volume. It's about balance. With practice, you'll project effortlessly and be heard in any environment without even needing to shout. Try this exercise daily and watch how your vocal presence transforms. If you want to work with me one-to-one or in a group environment or my online course, and I've got loads of programs and offers for you, click the link below and fill out the quiz or book a call with me. It's free, no obligation, and I'd love to speak to you. Speak soon.